everyone to the village of Hashem. We're now starting the first midah, the midah of Zehirus. We explained in the last shir that our whole purpose here is to get closer to Hashem. The way we do that is by climbing the spiritual ladder to greatness and excellence. The first rung on that ladder is called Zehirus, which means literally to be watchful or careful. And what that means is to be heads up and to stay away from harmful, spiritually harmful things. And those are the things we call Zehirus, to stay away from these things that interfere with us and us getting closer to Hashem. So what that means, says the Ramchal, is just don't go with the flow. Weigh everything by the scale of the Torah. And that way we'll know, is it good? Is it going to bring us closer to our goal? Or is it something that's going to interfere with the people that we could potentially become? The Yetzer Hara keeps us so busy that he doesn't give us any time to think about if we're going on the right path or not. And we're just running along as instinctual beasts of rote and routine, not even thinking and giving pause to what we're doing in this world. That is one of the greatest tragedies of the human condition, says the Ramchal in Missiles of Sharm. And therefore we need to be constantly vigilant. We got to be heads up and give time for inner reflection, because if we're not going to give pause and stop and look and reflect on the lives that we're living, we're going to be living the wrong lives. We're going to be messing it up at some point or another. And therefore, I have to ask myself constantly, am I on the right path or am I not? To inspect, to investigate, to examine our deeds and to see, are we doing the right things? Are we thinking the right thoughts? Are we saying the right words? Do we have the proper connections and relationships in our lives that are going to bring us closer to our ultimate goal, to get closer to Hashem? Or are these things, our practices or relationships, that are interfering with the ultimate goal of me getting closer and closer to the potential, powerful, and incredible Eved Hashem that I could actually be? He says there are three motivators, primary motivators, that could bring a person to this state of awareness called Zehirus, which is watchfulness. Number one, and this is before everything, and that's Torah. Without Torah knowledge, a person doesn't know if he's doing the right or wrong thing. He doesn't know what's right or wrong, so therefore, how could he actually practice that? So first, a person has to learn, and then it brings us to the three motivators. Number one is for a person to contemplate the idea that only thing that's worthwhile in this world is moving towards shleimus and exemplary perfection in this world that will eventually lead us towards our olam haba. And that's it. And anything that might compromise shleimus and my living a life of spiritual excellence is the greatest danger, because there's nothing more important than shleimus. That's the first motivator for a person to contemplate that. The second motivator is to say that a person focus on 1 second. I want to be the best I could be. I wouldn't be able to tolerate if I would see a colleague, a friend, a competitor of mine be in a better position than me, and therefore I want the best for my life. And since that's so, that could be a tremendous motivator for a person to have that healthy competition in order to say, 1 second, I want to be on the top. I only want the best for my life, and I'm not going to settle for second. And thirdly, the third motivator, which applies to everyone, is just thinking about reward and punishment. If I do good, I'll get good. If I don't do good, chas v'shalom, I won't get good. I'll get suffering and punishment, not only in the world to come, but also in this world, and therefore it's just not worth it. He continues and says there are three obstacles to attaining the midah, this personality trait called Zehirus, and that is, number one, is over-occupation in worldly matters. A person so involved in this world, he lost his sight on the prize. He doesn't keep focus on his eternity, but he's super engulfed in his just day to day and doesn't see the big picture. So therefore, a person has to stop that and recognize whether or not he's actually overwhelmed with his responsibilities in this world, doesn't actually focus on why a person is here. Number two is leitzanas, and a person not taking life seriously. And there are a lot of serious things going on in this world. There are a lot of serious responsibilities that we have, and that's part of being spiritually mature, that we take things seriously. And people who don't are not able to develop the proper attitudes of actually moving themselves forward towards perfection, because nothing really matters and everything's a big joke anyway. And third, and the final obstacle that he lists, is a bad environment, bad community, negative atmosphere, people, friends, whoever it is, society, culture, and all of that has a very, very profound effect on a person's life. So therefore, a person has to recognize and move himself to a position that he'll be surrounded by people, like-minded people, who are moving themselves constantly towards a better place, closer and closer to Hashem. We want to end on the strategy for this, for the midah of Zehirus. How do we do that? And that is something very, very simple, but very difficult to stick to. And that is something called cheshbon nefesh, where a person's going to stop every single day. Best to do it at the end of your day before you go to sleep. Take a pen, paper, or write it down some other way, and to think about, reflect back on your day. Did I do good? What needs to improvement? How can I tweak this performance, whether it comes to tefillah, whether it comes to, was I careful with my mouth? Was I careful with brachas, or the things that I need to say in my relationships? Was I respectful towards other people, or was I not? For a person to reflect back on his day, take the time, stop the whole rush of everything that we're doing so quickly in our lives, hit the pause button and say, 1 second, let's take a review. Let's go back to the videotape of the day and look how I did today and what needs improvement. I'll be able to then to be at least be aware of the areas that I need to improve in. And with that, I'll be able to move myself constantly forward and forward, closer to the person that I could truly become. Everyone should have a wonderful rest of the day. That's what we're saying today from the village of Hashem, and we'll see you next time.